Welcome, this is section 9.3, which is we'll be looking at continuations of functions. So please make sure you go ahead and read all of this, especially the construction chart. I will be showing you examples, so it makes much more sense than reading this. So let's go ahead and dive into continuity. Let's look at the first problem here. It says determine where the function is continuous. By default, this is a rational function. So that means the denominator should not be equal to 0. If the denominator is 0, it becomes discontinuous. So my goal here is my x should not be equal to 7 or x should not be equal to 2, because if I put 2 minus 2, I get a 0. 7 minus 7, I get a 0. But how do I write that down in interval notation? Easy peasy. Draw a number line. And here you have 2, and here you have 7. That means your x could be anything but 2. Your x could be anywhere in between 2 to 7, and your x could be anywhere from 7 to infinity. Make sure you go ahead, put your negative infinity, positive infinity. Again, I can have my x can be anywhere from negative infinity to 2. Remember, it has to be a parenthesis, not a bracket. If it's a bracket, that means you are including your 2. Okay? I cannot have a 2. And I can have anywhere from 2 to 7. I cannot have a 7. I can have anywhere from 7 to infinity. If I combine all of this, how do I write this? Negative infinity to 2 union. That means you're jumping off 2. 2 to 7. Or union 7 to, this is called or 7 to infinity. And that's exactly what you have. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. Again, what do? The denominator should not be equal to 0. Okay, very good. So 4x squared, this is too thick. So 4x squared minus 81 should not be equal to 0. That means 4x squared should not be equal to 81. That means x squared should not be equal to 81 over 4. That means my x should not be equal to the square root of 81 over 4, which is positive 9 over 2 and negative 9 over 2. Again, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to draw a number line, and I will go ahead and put negative infinity, positive infinity. I don't care what this is. This is negative 9 over 2 and positive 9 over 2. I know my x should not be negative 9 over 2. My x should not be positive 9 over 2. I can have anywhere from negative infinity to 9 over 2, from 9 over 2 to positive 9, and from here to. How do I write that down? Very simple. Negative infinity to negative 9 over 2, parentheses, or negative 9 over 2 to positive 9 over 2, or 9 over 2 to infinity. If you look closely here in all of this, I'm simply skipping positive 9 over 2 and negative 9 over 2. And that's exactly what you have. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Here is my inequality, and they're saying, hey, use the sign chart to solve the inequality. Okay, so let me go ahead and write that down. I have x cubed minus, no, not minus, no. I have x cubed less than 36x. I'm going to bring 36x to the other side. So minus 36x less than 0. Brush up your inequalities, please. And now I'm going to factor the x. When I factor the x, what do I have? X squared minus 36 less than 0. So I can factor this further to x plus 6 and x minus 6 less than 0. So what I'm telling you is, hey, when I multiply all of this, I want the number to be less than 0. That means I want the number to be negative. If it is greater than 0, it's positive, but I want the number to be negative. How do I do that? Very simple. I'm going to make a chart sign. What is x here? So when is this a 0? When x is 0. When is this a 0? When x is negative 6. When is this a 0? When x is positive 6. So what you're doing is you're technically taking each of the factors and setting them equal to 0 and finding the value of x, and then you plotting them here. It has to be less than, not less than or equal to. Keep that in mind. So less than, that means this is an open circle, open circle, open circle. Now this is positive infinity, this is negative infinity. Remember, my goal is to get a negative sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a value here. Pick any number in between negative infinity to negative 6. I'm going to pick, use a different color. I'm going to pick negative 10. And from here, from negative 6 to 0, I'm going to pick negative 1. Why not? From 0 to 6, I'm going to pick a positive 1. From 6 to infinity, I'm going to pick a 10. Now, once you pick these numbers, all you have to do is plug them in. So when I plug negative 10, what do I get? Negative 10 times negative 10 plus 6 times negative 10 minus 6. Again, my goal is to see if my answer is positive or negative. So this is negative, this is going to be negative, this is going to be negative. So negative times, you know what? You can plug this into your calculator if you want. Actually, let me open both of them so you can see. So this is negative 10 times negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4 times negative 16. So you see, I get a negative answer. That means, where is it? I'm going to pick, so this is going to be negative. Now let's plug negative 1 here. When I plug negative 1, it's going to be negative 1. Again, I'm plugging in this equation, remember? Negative 1 times negative 1 plus 6 and negative 1 minus 6. This is negative, this is positive, this is negative. So I get a positive 35. So this is going to be positive. Now let's plug 1. When I plug 1 here, again, where am I plugging? I'm plugging into this equation. So when I plug 1, what do I get? 1, what was that? 1 plus 6 and 1 minus 6. 1 times 7 times negative 5. I get a negative 35. So this becomes negative. So you see what's happening here? I'm taking values and plugging them right here. Now let me plug 10. 10, I don't think I need this. Actually, you know what? Let me just plug it in here. 10 times 10 plus 6 is 16. So 10 plus 6 times 10 minus 6 is 4. And I get a positive. Again, I really don't care what the value is. All I'm looking for is, are they positives or negatives? And keep in mind, I want this less than 0. That means I want negative and negative. Where is it negative? It's negative from negative infinity to negative 6 and from 0 to 6. So your final answer is going to be negative infinity to negative 6 or 0 to 6. Let's check if you're on the right track. There you go. And how do you write that in terms of x? So here they also ask you to mention in terms of x here. So that means you're going to say your x is in between negative 6 and negative, that's infinity. Negative infinity, or your x is in between positive 6 and 0. Both ways of writing. Again, what did you do? You factored it, found the values, and took values in between, plugged them in, and see where the values are negative. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the next one here. Oh, they're asking us to use the graph, so I have to expand this. And let me reduce the thickness here so you all can see. This is a continuation. When they put an arrow, that means the graph is continuing. What I'm going to do, if it is negative, I'm going to write it below. If it's positive, I'm going to write it above. As you can see, the graph here is negative. This is negative infinity. Of course, this extends to positive infinity. I'm going to change the color. This extends to positive infinity. So let's take a look. So this side of my graph is negative. And what is this? -5. So this is 4. This is 4. This is -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, very good. I'm going to use a different color. So this is negative from negative infinity to -4. And this is positive from -4 to -1 up to here. And this is negative from, can I squeeze that in here? -1 to 0. And this is positive, as you can see, from 0 to 2 up to here. And it's negative from 2 to 3. And it's positive from 3 to infinity. So now we have all of this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase, oops, never mind. I'm going to erase these numbers here. So you don't need these numbers. That's just for your reference though. Once I have it, I'm going to see what they're asking me. They're asking me, where is the function greater than 0? That means where is it positive? All the top ones, which are -4 to -1, or 0 to 2, or, oops, or 3 to infinity. Where is it negative? It is negative all in the bottom. Negative infinity to -4, or -1 to 0, or 2 to 3. So all the bottom ones are less than 0. All the top ones are above. So they are greater than 0. All right. Do we have any other? Oh, we do. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Determine where the function is continuous. This is a radical function. You can graph these functions or you can manually work them out. Remember, the radicals have to be greater than or equal to 0. That means x squared minus 36 have to be greater than or equal to 0. That means x squared has to be greater than or equal to 36. That means x squared has to be greater than or equal to +6 or -6. Okay, how does that work? On my number line, this is -6 and this is +6. Okay, let me just, that means x has to be greater than or equal to 6, or x has to be less than or equal to -6. That's much easier that way. Okay, so there are again multiple ways to do it. You can just do it this way, or you can also factor it. X plus 6 and x minus 6 has to be greater than or equal to 0. Let's do it this way. You know what? Let's just erase the previous one. Let's just erase the previous one. And x squared minus 36 has to be greater than or equal to 0 because it's a radical. So I have x plus 6. When I factor this, x minus 6 have to be greater than or equal to 0. Remember, greater than or equal to 0 means I'm looking for positive number. Very good. What do? This is negative infinity. This is positive infinity. Like always, I take a number. What number? Let's just take -10. I'm just going to stick with -10. And I'm going to make my life simple. I'm going to take a 0 here. And here I'm going to take a +10. Now what do? We plug them in here. we plug them into this equation, which is x plus 6 and x minus 6. So I'm going to plug negative 10, and I'm going to see negative 10 plus 6, negative 10 minus 6. Negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4, negative 4, negative 20, I get a positive 80. So this is positive. I don't care for the number actually, I'm only looking for the sign. Now I'm going to plug 0. So when I plug 0, it's 0 plus 6, 0 minus 6. I get a negative 36. So this is going to be negative. And now I'm going to plug positive 10. 10 plus 6 and 10 minus 6, which is going to be again, oh, what did I get? How did I get 80 here? I don't know. But anyway, this is a positive value. This is 16 times 4, 64. So this is positive 64, positive 64. So this is also positive. Now what I know is, remember I'm looking for greater than. So this is positive and this is positive. And what are they? That is negative infinity to negative 6. Now should I put a bracket or should I put a parenthesis? It's a bracket because it's greater than or equal to. Bracket or 6 to infinity. Remember the areas that you are looking for are these. Hope this helps.